Reality Beyond, a podcast where we look past labels, limitations, and expectation, where we explore growth, life, human experiences into what's still truly possible. I'm your host, Renee. Thank you so much for joining me, Liz.
Good, thank you.
I'm so excited and happy to have you here.
I'm so honored. I am such a podcast girl, and so to be on one and to be a part of the movement that you're doing, I have so much faith in what God's going to do with it.
Yeah.
I'm just honored to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. So this is a story that I haven't shared with you. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of history about how we met. I met Liz early last year through my sister-in-law, Joselle. And we met at a party, and then, after the party, it was leading up to Easter, and Liz loved kids, and she made Easter baskets.
Oh, yeah.
And when I received Cairo's basket, I got so emotional about it because I was saying to Giselle, I'm sorry, I was saying to Giselle,
I'm probably gonna cry too.
how did you know, what to get him? How did you know, what to put in his basket? Because it was different from all the other kids. They didn't have, the typical candy and stuff like that. And I was like, you, genuinely put so much thought in it. You put the bubbles and the little thing that you put fruits in for him to suck on. And she shared with me and said that you have a brother who has autism. And then it clicked. And I never shared that story with you. But, for anyone who goes, just put thought into anything when it comes on to Cairo. And not just Cairo, but individuals with special needs is good in my book. And then I see how you are with him when you're around, how patient you are. And it was a no-brainer for me to ask you to come on, to share your story.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to share it with the audience. So Liz.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you hope to get out of the podcast today.
Okay. So my name is Liz, as you know. I'm 26 years old, and I came to the Lord when I was about 24. And so everything leading up to coming to the Lord has now given me the opportunity to look back and see things so differently. And I think until we have that perspective of God and how he reveals different things, are we able to then navigate life in such a more fruitful and abundant way. And so seeing now how God has used my own brother who's special needs in my own life to teach me things, to help me see him better, to cultivate so many things in my family. That's what I'm willing and wanting to share with the world, is just, to look past the label and see the able.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So your brother, Evan.
Yes.
He is 36 years old.
Yes.
Which, puts a bit of an age gap between the two of you.
Yes.
And I don't typically we don't rehearse what we're going to talk about.
Yes.
But we talk about things because I want to make sure I'm honoring the family that I'm interviewing. I want to ask if, there's anything off limit, if there's anything you're not willing to share, because I acknowledge and know that each individual are at different stages of their life, and I really appreciate you being so open and ready to just share. And so Evan was diagnosed with autism, bipolar disorder, and I remember yesterday when we were talking, you were saying back then they diagnosed him this is on paper, mental retardation.
Yes.
And we were talking about how that's not a term that we use anymore because of it just how derogatory it sounds. Yeah. And you wanted, at first I was like, I'm not going to mention it, but you said, you wanted to mention it because so why did you want to mention it?
So I wanted to mention it because I think it just puts so much emphasis on how far we've come in the realm of being able to properly diagnose and also more normalize different kids and their disabilities. I think when my brother being the age he is back then, they did not have nearly half as much resources as we do now, nor words to articulate what's going on.
Right.
And so a lot of it you can see just by culture and society was derogatory. It was carrying in such a negative influence and perspective, because that's how they themselves were also perceiving the taboo, the unknown, the different. And so to know that, that's documented on paper for him, but it doesn't make up who he is, and it's not even how society deems him now, is such a blessing. And to see how the growth of the community has been, and just knowing that labels really mean nothing.
Absolutely.
I honestly sometimes even make jokes, and because I'm so sensitive, I'm very sensitive to sound and different lights myself, that I'm like, who's to say if someone threw that label on me, like that I'm slightly on a spectrum because of my uniqueness?
Yeah.
Who's the judge? Who's the real judge?
Right.
And I would be like, I'd embrace it. It's just a label to describe a person's indifference. And so to bring it up is more an awareness to say, like, back then, the lack of resource compared to now, and what my family had to do to navigate it kind of on their own, without today's
resources and support. Let's talk about your early stage growing up with him. About what age do you remember that you identified and said that, Evan was different, and you could tell that he had a disability?
I was probably cognitively aware from 3 to 5. I think I was always a very aware child, just in, observing, but to recognize, there is something unique about this situation. I was probably about 5, and my parents did, do their best to communicate to me. He's different, there's a different process of why he is the way he is, because I would recognize he throws fits like a different child would, or he doesn't necessarily do what I do. And so I was always very understanding of that, though. I knew, because of the difference that was there, though I had no solution or articulation to it, I trusted my parents. I trusted my parents, reason for why they would focus attention on him, or why he might have these outbursts, and I still loved him no different. And I think that since I was still young too, and that is your reality, that's your normality, you adapt. It's almost like, it's not normal, but it's your normal. And so I think I just grew accustomed to the dynamic in which we had things. I think another part of my upbringing was, because his father isn't in his life, my grandmother took over half guardianship for him as well.
Your mom's mom.
Mom's mom, yes. And so there was a back and forth kind of almost co-parenting, if you will, in the dynamic that we were just given, which gave a break to where me and my sister could have one-on-one time with my family. And then he got to see my grandmother and spent time with my family off Cape. So it was broken up in a way where me and my sibling, my younger sister Erica, didn't feel disincluded. But I also know not everybody has the luxury of taking a break from a family member who is a part of your family like that. And so it will be a future challenge when my grandmother, is no longer in the picture. So to bring him back in.
Just to go back a little bit. Growing up, and you said that he would have behaviors. And he would, I don't know if tantrum is the right word, but that's the word I use at home too. He would have behaviors, and without like the education and the resources that we have now, like what was helping him? What did that look like?
So without the resources, it's very difficult, I think, because not only was society not too kind in at all encouraging this behavior.
Right.
As a parent, you also want the best for your child, and you also didn't know how to handle it. So a lot of it was very restraint. He had the, hitting himself,
Right.
Tantrums, heading his head off hard things, hardwood floors,
Right.
not being able to articulate what he's feeling, but would just say mean things because it's all he knows how to process.
Right.
And so a lot of it came with like restraint, and it came with frustration of even sometimes caving in to the tantrum just so it stops.
Right.
Just so you can get that peace of mind to say, I don't know how to fix this. And so you kind of give a child the candy they want. So it was difficult to process, but I know in their best efforts, they did the best they can. Yeah.
And like how did you see your mom in those moments? Like how did you see her?
I saw a mother's strength for sure. I saw a mother's strength. I knew, just I could feel the frustration in those moments. I don't think any kid is ignorant to when their parents are also frustrated. But I also saw how unconditional her love was,
right,
to still endure, to still, show up for her child, even though he's being a certain way or just in whole. It was an unconditional love because regardless of the disability, she's showing up and she's helping him. She's caring for him as a mother.
Yeah.
And so I never, at least to my remembrance, took any offense towards the one-on-one attention that was needed to make sure he is okay
and safe,
and things like that. I don't think I took, at least verbally, I didn't have any remembrance of communicating that I felt that way. But maybe on a subconscious level, any kid who competes with their siblings and their parents' attention would be like, how come when I'm feeling sad, it might not be the same.
It doesn't look
right. The same process of walking me through my emotions. And so you can have that, but you can have that, I think, in any family dynamic,
right,
regardless of the child being different. I think many siblings compete with one another and can feel a lack in some degree. And until you're older, then you process it a lot more, which allows you to look back and be okay. But
one thing that I like to acknowledge is that when there's an individual in the family with a disability, it doesn't just affect that individual.
Yeah.
The caretakers, the siblings, other people in the home are also affected. And I personally, as a parent, I like to check in with my other kids, and I like to ask them, how are you feeling? Like my 3-year-old, 4-year-old now, Kiara, she'll say, you don't do this for me, but you do it for Cairo, or you don't love me, you only love Cairo. And I like that she's able to verbalize that, because at least now I can, pull her aside and say, well, explain to her what's going on, and then I'll include her in helping with her brother. And she loves that. And then at that point, everybody's included. But even with your best efforts, it doesn't help, it doesn't negate that a person can feel left out, or they can feel neglected, or they can feel a certain type of way. And it's okay to acknowledge and validate that feeling, and to not let them feel guilty. I think sometimes we put guilt to be like, you don't have any reason to feel this way. This is the person going through this, so why are you feeling this way? So I like to say, well, at least in my household, I don't know how it is everywhere. And everybody is at different, journeys. Like there were times too when I felt overwhelmed or felt like, I don't have time for myself, and that might show up differently for other people. Right. But it's okay. It's okay to feel, because it's happening to you too. So I want to just say to you, like, it's okay. And I remember last night when we were talking, and I asked if there's anything that you want to mention, and I wrote it down. I just want to make sure that I'm quoting what you said, and we didn't expound on it because I want this to be the first time that we talk about it.
Yes.
You said you wanted to talk about how he triggers you.
Yes. So, like you said, as a child, even in your best efforts as a parent, I'm sure, like you can't always get to give that undivided attention to each one of your kids if there is a unique set of circumstances, or there's more than 3 even, if your family's big. It's hard being one person stretching yourself out to multiple people. They're not going to get all of you. And I think that really emphasized for me growing up. My dad, he stepped in a lot, and he's not his biological father, but him being my sister and I's, he really made sure to make the house still feel a home. And I really believe it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child, because where one kid might feel left out, there's someone there to then pick up feeling their feelings and being able to encourage them to where it's not all on the plate of one person, such as a mother or a being. And so I grew up, and I didn't feel that way when I was younger, but when I got older, it manifested itself differently. So it manifested itself in different ways. I would become very triggered by him. I think in many ways I noticed how my mom herself is also triggered by him.
And when you say trigger,
Yes.
because I want the viewers to understand exactly what you're saying. And trigger might look differently for me than it does for you.
Yes.
So, like an example, for say, like of how that manifests and look for you.
So for me, it would come by irritation. It would come by a lot of irritation. I would have patience, but I would be irritated in doing it. I would have this just desire to kind of avoid, because I couldn't actually even articulate what it was that I was being triggered or tickled by. It was provoking me at a deep emotional level, but to things I didn't even know were there. Like, we don't know our own hearts, we don't know our own things, and so this is where God comes in. But as a kid, because I didn't have that sense for me to be older and have the awareness but still get triggered, I started to question, and I'm like, why is this happening? Like, where's my the shame and the guilt came in of where's my my grace towards such a person. Like, I'm old enough to recognize the dynamic, so why am I actually getting triggered? And it would come in different forms of in my mother's frustration, I'm very sensitive to how people's frustration can affect me. And so when he came down and my mother would be in a bad mood because she's, her capacity stretched thin, she's going through it, I'm like, I dreaded him coming around because I'm like, oh, then it rubs off on me. And then I get hit with it unintentionally. It's misdirected anger, it's misdirected frustration, and it's in the house. Or even little triggers like in public, being embarrassed and not wanting people to judge me just because I'm with him and he's my brother. And it sounds so selfish, and I would beat myself up and be like, why am I really feeling this? Like, I'm aware, like, that's so cruel. But I can't help the emotions that actually get provoked. And so it wasn't until you get to a place where if nothing's changing, you have to look at yourself. And in my walk with God, when I came to the faith 2 years ago, his grace is actually taking you back to the past and walking you through it. Not to bring you back to the past to trigger you and make you, but to walk you through it so you can understand and process these things. And even with triggers surfacing with my brother in my walk, one of the greatest things I did was it gave me a reason to go to God. And it gave me a reason to say, why is this happening? What is happening?
Because that's a test.
Yes,
you're being tested.
He wants to teach you something. He wants to show you something. my triggers, as uncomfortable as they are, have been my greatest blessing, because through them, I actually have gotten to see God on the other side. Once he showed me exactly why and gave me revelation, gave me understanding, and I don't get triggered that way anymore. I don't. And so, for an example, I feared rejection. And
you mentioned that you started not wanting to mention that you have a brother with a disability.
I wanted to, almost protect him for his own sense of how, me knowing how cruel people can be, but also I started to have those fears of are people going to think my genetics are messed up? Is a boy gonna want to be with me because of this? If I do anything quirky, are they gonna think, oh, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree? Is something wrong with me? I had all of these very deeply embedded fears, and I didn't understand why God was using him to surface them. But in reality, once I was able to see God through them, it taught me more about myself and more about God than anything else.
Right.
And so I got to see the root of I feared opinions, I feared the backlash, I feared the persecution that comes with difference.
Right.
Society doesn't like different.
Right.
I feared just the emotional turmoils and things that would come with it, because I myself wasn't processed in my own emotions and couldn't articulate and heal or cope in different ways. I used to get triggered because he was also super codependent. Yeah. They're very codependent, very clingy, and it bothered me. And I was like, why do I care? He is needy. He needs it, but why do I care? And in so many ways, God showed me, that's the posture we actually all need to have on God. Clingy, needy, codependent. We are nothing outside of him. But I was wrestling with that independence mentality of don't lean on anybody for support. And because no one might have been there for me in that way, and I toughened up, why is he not growing? Why is he... There was a lot of projection.
So I was just gonna say, so it's safe to say that it didn't necessarily had much to do with him, but more so what you were going through your own, personal growth. You were going through your own turmoil. And then for me, I feel like when you say, I'm taking that walk with God, that is when, the devil becomes mad, he's enraged, and he is trying his hardest to find things that you didn't, as you said, it manifested in a way where you're wondering where it came from. But if we know that fear and anxiety is not from God, so it was amazing that you, rather than dwelling on that, you were able to pull through, and God was able to show up for you, and your family in a way that you probably at that time didn't see possible. So I'm very happy that you choose to show how your faith helped you with navigating life with him. But I wanted to talk about schooling. What was that like for him? Growing up?
So growing up, we lived about an hour away from here. And schools didn't necessarily have those resources in play either. I think he was growing up thrown in to a regular classroom with regular kids, but did have to have a teacher supervisor because he wasn't learning or growing like the rest of the kids. It was different. So they would maybe have isolated sections of teaching, but he wasn't necessarily getting what he needed or belonging. Yes. And so in many ways, my parents definitely did consider homeschooling until when we moved here. There was a program at a high school. At the time, it was called the WAVE program. I don't know if it's called the buddy system now or if it's still the WAVE program. But they specialize in having their own unique education for special needs kids up until they're about 20, which is older than your average kid that graduates, but because mentally it keeps them in community, it keeps them in that was the greatest resources we've had.
Awesome.
So,
Today, well, at least for me, Cairo goes to an elementary school, which they have inclusion. He started out in they call it integrated preschool, and then because he's globally delayed, so he was integrated preschool, and then they recognized that this wasn't the right fit for him, so then they moved him to a STAR program. And even though he's still, in an integrated preschool setting, because he's still going to like regular, I don't even know if regular is the word, but he goes to a normal or a regular elementary school. They have different classrooms, where they call it the STAR program, which have like 5 kids and maybe a teacher and 3 other aides in that classroom. So he's able to still see his peers, typical peers, but he's separated from them. And then he has an IEP, and then eventually what will happen is, or my hope is that he will be able to transition into just the regular school program. And if he doesn't, at least he's able to just not be separated. He's included in these schools, even though, for some it's what works best for that family. For some, it might help to do the separation of students. But I think also we learn from our peers.
yes.
So it has come a long way.
Yes, I
really
think so
has.
too.
And do you think Evan would have been, if the outcome would have been differently, maybe if they had those programs then?
I do. I think, he is naturally codependent, but I think it would still give that natural, humane sense of independency and doing something and exercising his skill set as a human being, being in those environments. And I also think it has a good play on how other kids then learn how to deal with someone different themselves.
Yes.
So it's not just for the exposure of them, but
it benefits both ways.
to be able to treat them kindly in society, because there's the ones who work at grocery stores and you see them bagging bags,
and that warms my heart.
And it warms my heart. They are doing something, and they feel like, and it also hurts when you see people not knowing how to be kind to them. And it's because until I think you're in it and you've had someone who has been around, like whatever correlation that you yourself have experienced it, you lack the capacity in knowing how.
And because sometimes too, like you talked previously about projection.
Yes.
Sometimes it does not have anything to do with that individual.
You get triggered.
Okay, he might be a little bit slower in bagging the groceries, but I'm triggered because I have work.
Yes.
I'm gonna be late. And then we project it on that individual. Sometimes not even knowing, not consciously doing it. I was gonna say something and it totally slipped me, but I'll go back to that.
You'll come.
I loved how you incorporate your faith.
Yes.
So how has that improved the way how let's go back. How do you think growing up with your brother shaped you in the person that you are today?
This is my favorite question you've asked. I think anything with, just advocating at how much the Lord says he's our helper, helps us through these things. He's our comforter through the difficulties. And that, here we're going to have many trials, many sorrows. And the fact that he's overcome it, he says to take heart, he's overcome the world. It is such a honor to say, like, okay, I've seen the faithfulness of his hand. Like, this is exactly the fruit and evidence of what he's done. And so in many ways, having a brother special needs cultivated a whole new facet of how I see God, a whole new facet of how I see special needs people, a whole new facet of how I see myself. That, of course, mirrored by the triggers even, which was an opportunity to invite God in. I think, like you said, we feel shame and condemnation when it comes to having these different emotions that might feel selfish and we might wrestle with because we know they're not
Of God.
good or of God, but you have them. And God, you know, he never says stop being human. He says, that's
Bring them
exactly
to
what I
me.
want you to bring to me. And watch how he shows a different understanding. And so in my leaning into it, almost leaning into the fire, it actually taught me and made me who I am today. And in many ways I can share how, you know, in the beginning, it didn't look like how I'm talking now, you know, with the faith and the assurance to say like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to see how God reveals to those in your position, my position, those watching, what amazing alleviation and good that comes out of it. But it didn't start that way. I actually wrestled with God a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, you know, we're born in a fallen world. You know, there are different things that sin impacts, but we're also told how God is so intentional. He's so in control and he's so intentional. So to see my brother be this way, and it shapes the dynamic of my household, it had me ask a lot of whys.
Yeah.
Like, why, God? Why is this? How is this frustration at all healthy and good? How is this the good plans you have for me? How are you in control of this? What is your intention behind creating someone this way? How is it a life for them? Like all of these questions. And I had to ask a lot of questions in Matthew 7, or I'll go back to Psalms. There's a Psalms, I have my Bible with me too.
Oh, feel free to go there, girl. Go right ahead.
So Psalms 127:3 says, children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. And so I'm like, okay, God, if children are a gift,
Yeah.
but this doesn't feel too nice.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
And then there's a scripture in Matthew 7:11 that says, it says, so if you sinful people know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father give good gifts to those who ask him? And so God is saying he's a good father and he gives good gifts.
Yeah.
So I think it taught me to rewire my perspective of what is actually good in God's eyes.
Yes.
Like, what is it that we in suffering think immediately bad?
Right. What if?
But God's saying it's good.
Yeah.
And I wrestled with it. I wrestled so hard because I was like, okay, you know, it doesn't feel good, but faith isn't feelings. And it doesn't feel great. It causes a lot of friction, but what is it cultivating in me?
Right.
And I had to ask God, you know, I still wrestled because I still didn't understand disability versus sin versus perfection versus humanity. The aspect of where, you know, God is perfect and we're imperfect people, but he's intentional with his design. I asked him, you know, why do people suffer more than others if that's the case? And he brought me to John 9.
Right.
And John 9 is the story where, you know, there was a man born blind and everyone was saying, what sin did he commit that he was born this way?
Yeah.
Or what sin did his parents even commit that he was born this way? And it's honestly how society thinks of it. They're born with a disability. Oh, they must have sinned. It's a curse. It's a punishment. It's a punishment. It's
defect.
A defect. It's just it's something your fault, or it's whatever the case is. And God's response to that was, no one sinned. This was for my glory. I'll get the glory out of this. This is for my glory. And he put mud on his eyes.
Yeah.
And he spit, put mud on his eyes. And I think right then and there, God was saying that through the very dirt in which I made you, and then my spit being how I formed you, my DNA, because you're an extension of me.
Yeah.
To place on your eyes so that he could be healed shows up into that very moment. I formed you. I knew you. I know what I'm doing with you.
Right.
There's intentionality behind the why, the who, the everything, that the essence of why this person is the way they are.
Yeah.
what is our issue that we can't see that? It's not it's not God's fault.
Right.
We're misperceiving the goodness that is actually there.
And we talked about it too, and we said, what if we're the ones that are not good? What if we're the ones what we see as perfect? What if that's the imperfect? You know? What if those like minority of individuals with disability, what if like God doesn't make mistakes and he makes everything intentional? And I'm happy that you mentioned that, because I remember like in Cairo's earlier years, because he's nonverbal right now. He's just, you know, sounding his letters and mimicking sounds. But in his earlier years, I struggled. I was depressed. I cried so many nights asking, when is it going to be his turn? When will he have speech? And I remember like one day I just said, you know what? I'm okay. If he never have speech, I'm okay. He uses an AAC device. If that's his form of communication, I'm okay. And if he signs, I'm okay. Because if this is the way how God created him to be, I have to be okay. Because I was in a place of focusing on all the things that he couldn't do. And I was missing out so much on the things that he's able to do, how much of a blessing he's been, you know, to the family. And then I kid you not, as soon as I'm like, you know what, I'm okay, he started like mimicking sounds. And I'm like, what if this is what was holding him back? You know, like all the stress that I'm placing my anxiety on him. And the Bible tells us that that's not from God. And it took me like accepting and realizing that I have no control over this, for him to like start. And I remember going to church, and this lady prayed, and she was saying that she saw Cairo, like, you know, we go to the same church, so you know how drawn he is to the altar, and he kept on going out.
Beautiful. It's so beautiful.
And you know, it's natural for me to, you know, hold him back and to not, because I don't want him to interrupt the service. And I remember her saying, like, she saw it in a vision, a boy, and she didn't know who the boy was, but he was preaching. And she was saying, like, don't ever stop him from going up there. We have no issues with him going. And she prayed for him, you know, and she said God had the final say. You know, and it was, that was just such an eye-opener for me. So now we pray about everything. And because when you're going through it, it's hard to like keep faith. It's hard to say, you know, why, like, why does why is he not able to regulate his emotion? Why does he tantrum? Why am I not able to comfort him? But it was through praying and finding patience and giving yourself grace. You know, all the things that the Bible says to do, it's through doing that has made me now be comfortable to be sitting here today and, you know, giving my testimony and sharing my story and, you know, telling somebody that it is okay. What is to be will be, you know. And that's like a big part of why I was like, okay, I have to do this. Like, it became, because I wanted to, but it became a situation where I know now that I have to, because he has shown up, God has shown up so much for us. Like, life looks so different for us now than it did 4 years ago, you know? So I love when I have like people like you on who are able to really, you know, solidify and say, yes, this is true.
And it's so beautiful too, because I see Cairo at that altar, and like, little do you realize, that's him preaching already. He might not look like the pulpit on the microphone but he's preaching, because he's saying God can reach you in many ways. It's not just one way. He reaches his children in many ways. Do not put a cap on God. He reaches. And my brother just got baptized last year. My brother got baptized last year, and he had a genuine encounter with God. I remember it was in my kitchen. and he was having anxiety. And I said, Evan, call on the name of Jesus. And I just felt God say, like, you walk him through this, because he's aware, but he doesn't have the articulation to process what's happening. And in that moment, he's been so hungry ever since. He watches all like the little biblical animations, and he's seeking God, and he's growing and understanding. And God knows how to reach us the same way he can reach a blind person, a deaf person. We've invented Braille and sign language, but God is so beyond that.
Right.
His intentionality in making someone is also the same intentionality that he reaches someone and uses someone. Yeah. And so Cairo, like, it is so beautiful the way he's drawn to that altar, and like that is him preaching.
Yes.
People are witnessing that. He's connecting to God, even if we can't see it, he is. And that is preaching. That is him at that stage. That is him showing and communicating how multifaceted God is. And it is so beautiful. And the other part too, like you said, is, holding and seeing what it's teaching in us. In many ways, it's teaching that patience, that steadfastness. It rewires our brain to see, God's ways are not our ways. So the way he thinks is so beyond our understanding. But when you get a glimpse of it, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it. Like I remember asking, what's the why? I'm such a why asker. I'm like, what's the why? What's the why? I'm like, what is this doing for my mom? How is it causing anyone a sense of anything? If it's just causing frustration, what is this building? And much like now that I see every mother that's entrusted with someone who's special needs, how much of an honor and a privilege is it that God entrusts you with a difficult person to steward, because God's always loved difficult people. And the fact that he's entrusted you to care for his good gift that other people might not be too good with is such a honor. And the fact that they then teach us something, they teach us patience, kindness, compassion. How much more can you then advocate beyond words, love someone beyond what society says love is? You're going beyond materialism, you're going beyond words. You have to get to the heart of them and communicate. It shows a dependency, the same way we need to be like children and dependent on our good father. Right. It shows putting someone before yourself. Right. Which this world only knows self. So when you're being taught how this person's needs come before my own, right. It is selfless love. Yes. Selfless. And the and just in so many ways, God is cultivating this in the blessing in which it is that he just is, and how much closer they are to God because they are weaker. Yeah. And it's such a beautiful thing when God promises to be near the weak and the broken hearted, and he also uses the foolish things to confuse the wise. He is so intentional with just how he makes someone so meek and so dependent. Amen. But that's exactly what we need to learn from them. Yep. And it just put into retrospect how God, we're all disabled to some degree. Yes. I don't have 20/20 vision. I wear contacts, I wear glasses. That's technically imperfection. Right. If you have scoliosis, your back isn't straight. That's technically an imperfection. It's a disability compared to what perfection means to society. But God is saying, one of the greatest lessons I learned through my brother is to someone who can't offer you anything, can't offer you anything. You're the one giving everything, and he cannot offer you anything in return, yet you still love. That is the love of the Father. We have nothing we can give him. Right. He's given us everything, and we need him. Yes. We are completely dependent, yet he unconditionally loves us. Doesn't see any flaw, no different, is all good all the time, patient with us, kind with us. Everything in which the special needs community has allowed, and having a brother who has allowed me to look at God in such a different way. Yep. In just who he is. Right. It's been the greatest blessing I think I could ever ask for. And it came from the one thing that triggered me the most.
So now I remember.
It all came back.
Now I remember what I was gonna say. When I asked you, like, if you feel like it would have been different for your brother if he was born now, and I wanted to say that, maybe not, but absolutely yes, because the things that, like, a person, and if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person. I like to say that it's a spectrum. Everybody's different and unique.
Yes, I agree.
But the things that we had to teach Cairo, like now he's still at 6 learning to wave. He's almost mastered it, but but for Kiara, she was doing that at 6 months old.
Right,
but they taught him, and that's how ABA come into play too, which is a form of therapy for individuals with autism. They'll sit with them and they teach you how to put shapes in a shape sorter, how to wave, how to say hi, how to clap. Like, those are things that you have to teach most people with autism. So I think that yes, it could have been different, and that's why we're so blessed now that we have these resources. And even though some of them is being taken away, we as individuals and typical can still be kind, we can still share, we can still teach, because that's what God wants us to do. That's what we're supposed to do. Liz, for siblings that are listening, what's one advice that you'd have for them, if they not even just you're a sibling, so you can speak from that perspective, but for family members who are listening, one advice that you would have for them, if they're struggling or being triggered, as you said, what's something that you'd want to share? So
in reference even to the question you asked of if Evan was born the way he is now, and it didn't play out how it has over the years, I don't think I would have been able to connect with God the way that I do now. I think even the bumps in the road and the lack of resources played into the many frustrations that even God allowed, so that I'd have something to come with him too. And so I truly, truly believe that without God, you cannot do anything in your own strength. You need him to show you what it is that your soul and your heart is yearning for in a way that this world cannot provide it.
Right.
Both for the person who is disabled, for you, for the sake of everything. To someone listening who is, asking these same questions and is feeling triggered, I would say there's no condemnation, there's no shame, there's no guilt into having human expression, having human emotions, to feel. God created these things as well, is to feel, to have these things. I think the surrender and submission to giving them to him so he can answer them is my advice. And really just asking those whys. He's not afraid of those whys. He's not afraid of the emotions. He's not afraid of what he knows is going to come from what he's already created in your life. And so nothing scares him away. He's so willing to say, that's where I want to be invited. Every anger, every guilt, shame, fear, frustration, that is exactly where he just wants to be invited so that he can make the best out of it all.
And for Evan, if he's watching and he's able to understand, what would you want to say to him?
Oh my gosh, that might make me cry. Well, Evan, you have been the biggest blessing in my life as a brother. I would not want any other brother but you, the privilege and the honor that God has given me to understand him through you and the way that you reflect him in ways that you might not even recognize is so beautiful. And so I pray that no matter where you are in life and no matter what comes your way, that you remember the intentionality and the faithfulness of how you are a son of God, how intentionally He's made you, how loved you are. And I love you. I love you. I don't know what else to say.
Awesome.
Such a blessing.
Liz, it's been such an honor to have you on. And before I close out, I usually like to ask, if there's anything that we didn't cover that you would like to share.
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
But we went pretty deep.
Thank you. Thank you so much for, agreeing to come on with me.
Thank you.
Viewers, I want to thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. And, Liz, I hope Liz's testimony really shows you that anything and everything is possible beyond a disability. If you're a family member, a sibling, anyone out there that might be struggling, or you might have questions, or if we can be of any resources, please feel free to leave a comment. I will respond. And I just want to say, just remember that there's possibilities beyond all disabilities. Thank you.